Okay, let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to our 69th Security Thought Leadership webinar. And for those of you who join us regularly, you know we're here every Tuesday and Thursday around this time, some other days too, as it happens, where we debate a topic of central importance to the security world. And the idea of thought leadership is we critique today what's going on in order that we get some thoughts and ideas about what a better type of security may look like in the future. And our topic today is one that has also come out of previous work and previous webinars that we've had. It's about the area of security recruitment. What is the role and who is being sought after in this post-COVID-19 world? And there are some who said that the recruitment world has disappeared with the internet. It's becoming less important. There are others who say never more important than ever. We need a different type of person this day. And of course, those in the recruitment world are the first to see it. So we've not only got people who work in different areas of recruitment, we've also got panelists from different parts of the world. As is usual, in a minute, I will ask them each to introduce themselves. And once they've done that, I will ask them each to make an opening statement, their views on this topic area in just 3 minutes. And once they've done that, I'll invite you, the audience, to ask questions. Can I ask you to ask your questions on the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen? There's also a chat button. Do remember to circulate it to everyone, not just the panelists, if you want to use the chat button. But if you've got questions, can you use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen? Okay, without further ado, let's meet our panel, starting off first in the UK, and Peter.
Thanks, Martin. Peter French, MBE. I'm a certified protection professional, CPP, CEO of SSR Personnel, a business I founded over 30 years ago. I'm a principal founder and have been a past master and trustee of the Virtual Company of Security Professionals. I sit on the Chartered Security Professionals Registration Authority. I was a member for Skills for Security, delivering training to aspiring engineers. I'm part of the ASIS Technical Standards Committee, which was developed ANSI standards for Chief Security Officer, private security companies in hostile environments, and Security Officer Induction and Training. For 9 years, I was a volunteer chair of the ASIS European Regional Council, covering 2,500 members. I'm passionate about the profession of security in all its guises, from corporate security to technical services. And I co-founded the Security Benevolent Fund and was awarded the City Liveries R&B Award for my work in 2019.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. So from down in the UK, let's go over to Cleveland, Ohio, and say hello to Aaron. Aaron, please introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Aaron Kutz. I'm the practice leader here at Direct Recruiters in Cleveland, where I lead our team specifically focused within the security industry. So our team lives and breathes security industry, helping service our clients in mostly North America, US.
Aaron, thank you very much indeed. And finally, Brett, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, my name is Brett Ennells. I started Cento Recruitment, foreign security jobs back in 2005, so 15 years. Ex-security engineer. Primarily, we focus on the electronic side, the technical side of security. Liveryman for the Virtual Company Security Professionals.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, without further ado then, let's go to our opening statements. So we ask each of the panelists 3 minutes to give their views on this topic. Peter, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Well, we're trusted to recruit positions for clients who value our sector expertise and market intelligence. The annual SSR and ASIS International Salary Surveys is probably the only open knowledge reservoir which HR professionals can access for remuneration information in Europe and the Middle East. Otherwise, it's only a recruiting activity that benchmarks any function. Our biannual market reports look at employment trends and, where possible, in-demand qualifications. But of course, that's now changing to be not just physical, but cyber, AI, increasingly important in a digitized world. Security practitioners, engineers, and functional managers have an opportunity to look at security with the added clout of GDPR. Who could have expected fines of billions of euros to be levied? The events of the last 8 months have enacted a terrible price emotionally and economically, and this has accelerated change. We now have a client focused on the measurement of diversity, equality, and inclusion, which many clients employ in us to ensure they have a diverse applicant shortlist. COVID has widened the existing inequalities in our society. Current Black Lives protests have increased visibility of discrimination and embedded racialism across all communities, including business. This focus has affected how an enterprise acts and retains workers and the demand for a wider candidate pool. Today's business wants to understand what emerging talent looks like. Corporations want to know what are the roles of tomorrow, advice on international talent, movement in competitive businesses and in what sectors. All above grew during lockdown, and we foresee the future continues in the same route. But what are the skills that are in demand and why? Broader responsibilities of the security professional, moving away from physical protection of the front gate to defender of IT infrastructure and protector of people. What is the point of protecting the keys to the safe when your secrets have already been stolen? Corporations seek people with leadership qualities. In some areas, this is of equal importance as skill sets. The communications advisor, knowledgeable and experienced in various platforms to communicate to a hybrid and remote workforce. An audience spanning multiple generations and ethnic groups presents its own challenges. Global crisis planning, skill to prepare, exercise, deliver solutions, post high impact national event. Who had the pandemic as their #1 business risk? Testing robust business continuity policies at ground zero, integrating technology innovation to businesses. Crossover skills in space planning, facilities, health, life safety, environmental and CSR. IT security, translating the cyber resilience down to a practical IT solution, clear and frequent communications, training, information security policies and remote workers. The good news is that COVID has created a need for security services and strategies to protect the workforce and prepare return to work strategies. A survey I just noticed in the past day concurs with our findings. Business leadership views security more favourably since the pandemic. To paraphrase, security has gained authority, responsibility and voice. We need to consider that this is security in its most holistic needs. We rely on relationships and referrals from existing professionals for our recommendations to hire. Unfortunately, sometimes in-house recruiters do not understand the complexities of security, regardless if that's in technology or the corporate sector. The acceptance to offer to the best of a bunch is a poor way to recruit in any role. In a business critical role such as security risk, it's possibly careless and dangerous. We work with companies who value their business and their people, who invest, train and develop to protect and build a brand whilst engaging the individual. Because if they remain an employee, they will certainly want to have experience across the corporation. We believe we provide cost-effective solutions for hiring in the long term, interim hire, contract hire. But above all, we are a trusted place for applicants. We advise on direction and mentor many thousands of people. And with over 40,000 assignments under our belts, we have experience to assist all parties. Thank you.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. Interesting points there we'll come back to. Aaron, your opening statement, please.
Sure. So we focus, our goals here at Direct Recruiters are more specifically how we look at it is to be an extension of our clients. We want to go out into the market and be a seamless transition to their team and make sure we're marketing to them to find the best people out there, not just a pool of people that happen to be open, but find the best people to fit the roles that they're looking to fill and help them grow their teams. So that's changed dramatically, I think, through, and I know we want to talk about this today, is through the pandemic and what challenges those are, but people are looking for different types of roles, technology, different types of technology, different types of backgrounds, different geography needs. All of that has changed. So with that, kind of our thought process and our tactics have to change with it to make sure we are continuing to find that. So more than ever, like you mentioned at the beginning, the need for a strong recruitment team and a strong recruitment effort for our clients has been more evident than ever. And so that's the outlook we take for our clients, is to make sure that we're servicing them the best way possible with the ever-changing needs that are out there.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, lots of questions I'd like to ask, but I'm going to get our final opening statement in. Just to say to our audience, please use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. Get your questions in early and we'll endeavour to incorporate them in the discussion after we've heard from Brett. Your opening statement, please, Brett.
Thank you. Yeah, similar to Aaron and to Peter as well. I mean, again, we work in partnership with our clients. The role of recruitment isn't just a case of picking up a CV and putting a person in a job. It's understanding the culture of the business and making sure you've got the right fit for a long-term success. We've seen, again, in the short space of time since the start of this pandemic, the market's gone from being a very skill-short market to, obviously there was quite a few candidates on the market, but I'd say it's gone back to a very skills-short market, even more so than probably it was at the beginning of the pandemic. And so again, working with someone like ourselves, someone like Peter's business, Aaron's business, it's working in partnership with these companies to ensure you get the right people that for the right jobs, and not just people that are on the market, people that are in the market.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Brett. Okay, look, lots of questions coming in. Let me just get this point. I think some of the questions coming in are focusing on where recruitment is going, and I wonder whether you could just outline for me. I think I'll come to you first, Aaron, because you mentioned about geographies being different and different technologies, different geographies, different needs as a result of the pandemic. Can you just explain to me a little bit more about what the different needs are that have been caused by the pandemic, different needs in personnel? Then I'll come to Peter and then I'll come to Brett. Aaron first.
Sure. So I think when I talk about that, what I've seen is more, even though remote work was a large part of these companies' needs in the past, remote work and finding that talent that isn't necessarily near their office and going into the future and being more open to someone within a different geography than what they're used to. For me, just an example, if their office is in New York and traditionally, January timeframe, they were only looking for people in New York. Most companies we're working with, that is no longer a need. So the talent pool has expanded that we can go after. And it's more about the best talent when it comes to that. But then also candidates have that same mind frame, is they feel like they shouldn't have to go to an office anymore because roles that they thought were mandatory to be on premise, no longer the case. And most companies are adapting to that. So what we're seeing out there.
Okay, thanks very much. Peter, your thoughts on this, specifically what the COVID-19 has changed?
The major parts are people having credibility, I think, within their working space. I think the most incredible thing is that around our knowledge provider pool. So we tend to think about corporate, but we've got this, 300,000 vendors that are sitting within the country who deliver, and across actually Europe, we're probably in around about 1 million people that work within the vendor community. They are at the forefront of new policies, and they've never really had a problem of taking people from different environments. Obviously, it's about the work delivery. If you've got to deliver it to a client site, but then we've got people that are traveling around in an airplane with, a Stanley satchel full of tools, which they walk through the airport and then they come out the other side and they're in a client's premises. So, we never really had that geographical issue because it was really a skills first thing. But I think COVID at the most senior levels in an organization has actually now changed the whole emphasis of Zoom calling. We all wanted to get together in a room somewhere, didn't we, and go for a drink in the bar afterwards. Well, actually, we've all worked the perfect place now, which is we can attend a meeting, have our say, share our thoughts, and then we can get on with the rest of our day. And I think a lot of people during this lockdown have actually re-skilled themselves or assisted themselves in skills. So businesses are looking for some different sets of skills, but I think the people involved in the functionality are themselves increasing their own skill base by listening and being mentored, if you like, in a community sense, in whatever the issue is or whichever part of the business they're actually in themselves.
Thank you. Brett, in your area, a slightly different one. How have you found COVID-19 has impacted on recruits, or has it?
Obviously, it's had an impact. It's definitely had an impact. And again, pre-COVID, if you like, there was a reluctance for clients to allow home working. I suppose that's the same for a lot of businesses where people didn't want anyone to home work. And we've all been forced into this situation where home working's become almost the norm. So again, I think as Aaron touched on there, the talent pool has increased because people are now able to say, well, you can have someone live in a different city, as long as they can report in via Zoom, via whatever link they do report into. So your talent pool has then increased. I think we've also seen, obviously, a hell of a lot of interviews now conducted via video, and it's almost become the industry norm, certainly from our side of it, to the first round of interviews is being conducted by video, and a lot more people are more comfortable with video. And again, it's exactly what's been said before. Normally, even something like this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. These are not obvious points you're raising. I haven't heard these points before, by the way, pal. Okay, let me move on. I want to read you a question from Gary Shields. And listen, panel, because a commercial opportunity coming your way, I think. Gary Shields mentions the point, as an operational security manager, I lost 80% of my in-house security staff to redundancy as a result of COVID-19. That sounds dramatically bad. I want to replace these at some point. Many of the webinars talk about professionalism, convergence, capability, recognition, and many more attributes to which we vested interests aspire. What contribution and assurance do the panel themselves making to this effort? I think it's this specific point about recognising the change. Can I just build in a question I got in advance from a Gus Duthie, who says that given this home working that we've been that has become about, which you've all spoken about, and the changes that you've made, eminent psychologists and panelists have concluded that often the people to suffer most are those who are the most flamboyant in the office. How are you managing that? Is this affecting the sort of people you're being asked to recruit? Aaron, your thoughts on this?
I don't think that has impacted who we're asking to recruit as far as the profile goes. My take on that would be it hasn't been long enough for people to adjust the personality quite yet. If they're looking for a salesperson, they're still going to be looking for a salesperson. If they're looking for an engineer, the skill set, I think, is still driving the search. As we get through this, and if this goes longer, potentially, yes, I think the personality profile could change, just because I think you might see the results change. You might see someone who is struggling because they're not getting the same personal interaction. Maybe their output changes, maybe their numbers decline based off of that. But for right now, we haven't seen a shift quite yet as far as personality profiles based on homework compared to office work.
Yeah, is there something though, Aaron, within your ambit? Are you conscious of this as a potential issue down the line, or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I haven't had any clients bring that up as a specific point that that they need a different personality profile based on working from home. And my gut says it's probably because they hope that it's not the absolute long term for some of these roles, at least. Maybe not, all of them, but some of them.
Yeah. Okay. Peter, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, interesting questions. I think the first thing is going back to those people being made redundant. Fortunately, lots of them hopefully will get jobs because lots of them are highly skilled. They've been trusted. You'd be surprised how many times we overlook a security officer, but they're the person who's gone through the DBS or criminal records bureaus check, had a bit of training, done whatever. So we're finding that they translate into other sectors has been relatively easy. I think the future for that sector has got to be technology. You've got to impart that. I've never quite understood why when a building goes dark, we stick 2 people in there to wander around on their own when technology can look at a building. And actually, somewhere 300 miles away, you can even have lone workers who are followed around. It may sound spooky, but with a hologram that actually can interact with the individual physically from 300 miles or 1,000 miles away. one of the things that was sort of seeming is, is this the new normal? And I think it's not. I think there is a new normal, but I think we're not going to get rid of that real estate. The real estate's going to stay. People will come back, and the reason why is because the demographics of the workforce are changing themselves. So those millennials, those Ys and Zs, they don't want to work remotely. They don't mind working remotely, but they are collaborative figures. Now, you can use platforms, not particularly Zoom and others, but you can use other platforms which make it more collaborative in the way that you're talking with people, just like having a chat on anywhere else, and you're just in an office, but you're 100 miles away. And you don't make those, you don't actually develop those. That's not in the CPD, that's in the individual strength. So quite interested to see where it goes. But I think at the moment, people are still thinking they're going to be back in the office because actually they want to meet each other. And that's the problem. And it's maybe the people with childcare issues and things like that. They've all been really happy to work from home. Maybe not to have the schools off at the same time, but working from home has been a godsend for them. But it's the others. There's 33% of the workforce wants to go back into the office now because they want to meet each other. So, and there's no business imperative to do that. But then we've always collaborated like that, and I don't think it's going to change in the near future, at least.
Okay, Brett, your thoughts on this? I mean, does this apply in your world so much, where in that technical side that you were discussing?
But yeah, people have certain clients have looked at distributing their workforce, but again, I don't think people can see past or where this is actually going to end. And I think the most views are that we'll get back to the old normal. I mean, everyone talks about the new normal, but I don't think anyone knows what the new normal is. The new normal is probably going to end up being a hybrid of what we're currently sitting in and what the old normal was. And I think also that the people embrace flexible working more. So people with childcare can work from home, but then go into the office. But exactly as Peter says, we're social beings. And I think that the minute that we can get back to working into an office, then we will. And that's across the board. So we're not seeing anyone asking for specific skills, i.e., is this the type of individual that could work in isolation for a long period of time? We've not been asked that question yet. Possibly we will going forward, who knows? But right now, I think everyone's looking at when we get out of this, we'll go back to an element of old normal, but the new normal will probably end up being a hybrid where people will be more flexible with the way people are working.
Okay, really good. Let me move on then. Let me come to you first on this one, Peter. Brian Sims makes an interesting point, and this has cropped up on previous webinars, by the way, panel. There's been a marked move away from ex-military and police personnel towards professionals who are first and foremost skilled in the ways of corporate business and its specific demands. Is that right? Move away from police and military types to a different type? I'll start off with you, Peter. I'm interested to know, Aaron, whether that ever was an issue with you in the first place. Peter, your thoughts?
Yeah, no. Two things to that. One is that we're getting more people, so we say, from policing, who are in 15 years, been in the job 15, 10 years, they changed the pensions, whatever it was 2-3 years ago. Suddenly we've got some highly trained individuals, certainly within intelligence areas, empathy, interviewing, we train these people really well, and they decide to duck out into the public sector, after 10 years. They come out highly skilled, they're desirable. If you're in the vendor market, the planning skills of some of these people, certainly in the forces, as we've seen during this pandemic, is exceptional. And we and our clients welcome those sort of people. I think what Brian, if we take it that we're actually reducing our army, we have been reducing our police, we have been taking them out, although the police is going to evolve, of course, with degree education. So again, we've got a different aspect of different individual coming along, who's not spent 3 years on the beat, who's actually come out of university going straight into a line management or line job. So, but the other thing I think was more critical is the security profession attractive enough for those people? What are we offering them? What they can't get somewhere else? And that really is the issue about how can security invent itself as being a profession that will keep me occupied, maybe for the next 10 or 15 years. I don't think people look beyond that, and people don't look for a job for life now. But I think we have to say that, there are some variances there, certainly.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Aaron, your thoughts on this, just as a thought on this, Aaron. One of the webinar yesterday we were looking at, and one of the research reports we were discussing yesterday, we came up with a finding that contrary to popular myth, people do join the security sector and value involvement in the security sector because it's a form of public service. And listen to this, away from the front end, another attractive proposition, it's lucrative. I'm just wondering whether A, you've had this issue about former military and police, and secondly, whether this chimes a bell with you, so to speak. Aaron first.
So we handle more on the technology side as well. So not as much just on where we focus. But I will say, so that when I started recruiting, I joined a team that specifically worked with companies that sold technology into public safety. So police, fire, government, that area. And that's absolutely a reason people join that sector, is kind of the greater good. It helps people. So not as much on the technology side, on the security aspect, just because that's not as much of a focus, but I've seen that before in other areas. Absolutely.
Is that interesting, Aaron? What is the main attraction from people outside the security world to the security world in your recruitment world?
It's a good question. I think there is an aspect that it helps. It's a real solve for companies. It's not, and this isn't a knock on accounting software, but it's not just like an accounting software. It's not like a spreadsheet type. There's a cool factor to a lot of it, but I think a lot of it, there is a helping aspect. And it's interesting. I think a lot of security, though, people kind of stumble their way into it, and then once they're into it, they like it. So it's not, and I hate to be kind of stumbling through this answer, but I don't know if people necessarily seek out the security industry. I think sometimes the security industry kind of finds them, and then they enjoy it and they like it, and they like what they're able to do with it.
Yeah, exactly what the research found, actually, Aaron. And it's interesting, isn't it, that their perception was they got into it by accident, and in it they find that it is lucrative in the right roles, and it is a form of public service. It's got a great career options and diversity of choice. I mean, just not the things that we shout enough about. Let me come to Brett. Brett, I want to pick up on yours, just on this very specific point that Brian Sims has raised about still looking, do the police and military still have a place in the sorts of world you're in, or I guess perhaps less relevant in the first place, or not? Brett?
It's not as relevant because, as I say, a lot of the people we deal with are more on the technical side.
Yeah.
Some of the ex-police, ex-military do go into more of the commercial side. Some of them go into the sales side of the security arm that we're in. But again, that's looking for open-minded employers that are prepared to give someone a break. I think the problem that we've got at the moment is most of the employers have got a very closed mindset, I would say, with regards to looking for experience. Well, certainly from our point of view, they're looking for experience. So we wouldn't necessarily get involved in recruitment of inexperienced people, because of obviously that's how we earn our living. And but the people that do come and move into the security world, and some of them just find their way there by accident. I did that myself 30 years ago. But you do that, and then when you get into it, you realise it is an exciting sector, and it can be lucrative, and it is a very stable sector from a job perspective, because there's always the demand, and the demand is just increasing year on year anyway for security people. So it's down to really on our side of it is if there is an employer that's willing to take ex-military, ex-police, and give them an opportunity.
Okay, Peter, I've got a question here from Matthew Porcelli, based in the United States, and he wants to know an interesting point from a recruiting point of view. are managers and recruiters honest about COVID-19 for their frontline security officers and their up-and-coming duties? I mean, is there a conflict of interest, Peter, between needing to recruit, needing to get people out there, either from recruitment or a deployment point of view, and the sort of what can seem quite penalising requirements to take time off if someone's got COVID-19? Peter?
The answer is simple in the fact that people at the front line, as we've seen, regardless of what that front line looks like, but if you're a frontline security officer, there is a point where you have a heightened possibility of contracting COVID-19, and people have done so and have died. So if you are somebody who is not an honest individual or a company that doesn't care about people, what you've described is a real possibility. But let me just give you an example. We've just taken a really important household, it's across the UK, 3,600 connections within the electronic sector, and much of that's going into people's homes. Now, you know, our job was to provide those 100 people across the whole of the sector, but you know, that was done with risk at the forefront before we went anywhere, you know, with the PPE and everything else. So, and actually with a COVID risk assessment that each person had to actually have, that they would then consider when they went into somebody's household. So I think the right people giving the right policies and with the right care, there's always enhanced danger unless you're locking yourself away. But that's no more than whatever it was, 3,000 people in Soho last night celebrating the last night of freedom. So in a work situation with the right sort of policies and the right sort of PPE in place, I consider that you would be honest when you're talking to your people about, you know, what risks they face. And you may be one of those situations where you are paying people on the front line slightly more. But, you know, I can see it from engineers, I can see it from the security officers' perspective. Just be honest with people and make them feel safe. If there's anyone doing the job because they've got to, because they're forced to, then that's a pretty bad business to work for.
But Peter, the point is, I guess, is there a conflict of interest here?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Because if this is something that's got to be done, then you employ a company that's competent to do it. Doesn't matter, you know, all aspects of within the security world. Some of them are dangerous. You know, our insurance investigators going around people's houses and collecting cars is one example of a very dangerous place it can be. If you're in the COVID environment with the right risk assessment, I don't consider that people do that and put people at risk. And I know lots of people within that sector, but I don't think you do it.
All right, let me move on. I want to ask a question now from Ninjo Abawanding. Ninja, I do hope I pronounced your name correctly. Let me come to you first, Brett, this time. I mean, the bit, what I'm taking from Ninja's question is a topic that's cropped up recently, actually, and that's the role of security associations and interest groups in terms of, I suppose, the way they can help the recruiter. And in different ways, I suppose, Brett. One might be in terms of framing opinion about what security looks like, promoting the good in security, playing initiatives and schemes to attract and generate interest in the security sector, those sort of things, Brett. Do they play an important role? And if not, why not? And what more could be done? I'll come to you, Aaron, afterwards, if I might. Brett first, please.
Yeah, I think they do play a very important role. I think they probably could play more of a role. I think education to the wider population outside of the security industry of the career opportunities that there are and the type of work that you can get involved with, because it is quite exciting. It's very exciting. I've been to various different places during my career that I would never have got to if I wasn't in the security industry. Educating people that this world exists, because I think it's not always necessarily, as Aaron said before, a career of choice. A lot of people end up in the security industry. So as industry associations, I think part of their role could be to educate, whether it be school leavers or second jobbers, that the security industry is a very attractive career choice that can give you career stability, would be a great asset.
And they're not doing it by and large now, though, Brett.
Personal point of view, no, I don't think they are.
Okay, Aaron, your thoughts from the United States?
Sure, I am very much in agreement with Brett's take there. I think showing the career opportunities, I think getting people together for education, and I think something that we kind of touched on in the beginning of this is the aspect of just getting people together. Obviously, maybe not right now, given current times, but I do think that without those groups, without those institutions, you know, a lot of the trade shows, a lot of the areas where the security industry comes together in one place doesn't happen. And I think there's a lot of good exchange of ideas. There's a lot of good exchange of information, technology, all of those things. As good as Zoom calls can be, you can't get 50,000 people in one place on a Zoom call exchanging the information that you can on a trade show floor. So I do think they do a good job in that aspect to help the industry in general.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to come to each of you now with a question from Simon Chan, which I think is really, really important, and one that, in fact, to be honest, sparked my interest in holding this webinar in the first place. And it's this: what does the future of security recruitment look like? And is this something anyone can do, or is it becoming more specialist? I mean, how are you going to justify your existence going forward? And is that going to be a challenge? Peter first, and I'm going to come to Brett, then Aaron, if I might. Peter.
No, thanks, Martin. The future of security recruitment. Well, I think I touched on it previously. We're specialists in our areas. So we don't, in our particular case, we're not recruiting nuclear scientists. So, when a client comes to us and says, we've got a problem, we want to find the best there is in the business, whatever that's going to be, we know where to go. I mean, I suppose we're lucky enough to have enough diverse consultants who look after particular areas. So really, I suppose it depends on the recruiter if they've got enough experience across a whole host of different areas. But I think the way technology is going in the security sector, we're becoming more technology focused, and the good or bad news to that is those people are in short supply. So we are going across or traversing across different sectors to find people who understand how to program a BMS system rather than understanding how to install it, because we've just given that job to the electrician. So there are differences. In our world, everyone wants to drive out the cost. Do they want to pay us £40,000 for replacement? Well, yeah, they do, because that's what they've been doing this year. And all of those have been very special environments, requiring a whole lot of work that goes, and a global search. So yes, if we are global in our outlook, yes, if we understand what people want, if we've actually positioned ourselves correctly, we can get more bang for the buck, because we will probably start somebody 6 to 8 to 9 weeks earlier than most people can do on a search when they come into the sector cold. Yeah, interesting point. Brett, your take on this future security recruitment, key characteristics.
I mean, the key characteristics, again, I mean, it's not just security recruitment; it's recruitment in general, I guess. If you're looking at basically that with social media, if you can put a post on LinkedIn, for argument's sake, and then that attracts 10, 15 quality candidates, then you don't need recruitment. Recruitment is it's a service, obviously, and it's where people see value in that service. And it's not just a case of gathering loads of applicants for a job and just picking one. It's also getting that culture fit right and making sure the person, or if you get the culture fit right, then the person stays there for a lot longer. And it's a time element. The recruitment is a time element. If it was as simple as just posting onto social media, then obviously you wouldn't need recruiters. Most people don't have the time to invest to find the right people. And then on top of that, as Peter mentioned there, it's also the reach. So it's down to the size of the digital network, it's down to the amount of people you can contact and how quickly you can contact them to find the best in the market. It's always about being the best in the market, and partnering with a recruitment business will always ensure you find the best in the market rather than people just on the market.
Yeah, interesting. Aaron, do you see a good future for security recruitment over there?
Absolutely. And I'm in agreement with both Peter and Brett on that. It's not, I tell all of our clients, if you can find the person on your own within your own personal network, post something on LinkedIn, do it, go for it. I don't, no one feels good about paying a large fee for someone they had coffee with the week before. Go within your network for the hard to fill roles, for the specialized roles, for the ones. Vast majority of people we place are passive candidates. They're not looking, they're not applying, they're not responding to those LinkedIn posts or any sort of internet job posts. We're active. The only reason they know about a position or they're having a conversation about a position is because of our efforts and getting them on the phone and the network that we've built. So getting that culture fit right, getting those passive candidates, that's something that doesn't happen without the efforts of a recruiter, and especially now, and what we're seeing is there has to be a lot more handholding. People aren't as willing to have that initial conversation, aren't as willing to make that job change because of the uncertainty of everything else that's going on. So the need for a recruiter right now, if you're really looking to get those passive candidates and the best in the market, I would say is larger now than it may have been, this time last year, at least on our side of things.
Really, really good point. Thank you very much indeed, and very encouraging that, by the way. Let me just ask you a final question each, because we're running out of time. You just got 15 seconds each for not an easy question. I'd like to know from each of you what you see as the single positive change that you think will be taken forward from the COVID-19 era. It's been an experience. What's the main key positive change? 15 seconds each. Brett?
Flexible working, I would say. People's openness to flexible working across the workforce, and the introduction of video, which can accelerate the recruitment process.
Aaron?
That was what I was going to say, but I'll go with just more openness, more flexibility in general, more understanding. I think people are way more understanding of people's personal and professional issues than before.
Yeah, that's a real positive, actually. Thank you. And Peter, finally, your final comment, please.
Enhanced trust in the security sector to deliver safe working environments, to apply technology to actually ensure that I can go to work, be it on the transit system or be it even at home. One of the things we're seeing is obviously this increase in burglaries at home because people got more kit at home. These are some of the stuff that we're seeing. But I think trust in the security sector, whatever part of it you're in, makes it a better role for everybody.
Gentlemen, thank you so much indeed for your comments. That was extremely insightful. I have to say, I learned a lot about recruitment and very positive reflection. Yesterday, we did have a webinar on careers, and they're the work of associations coming up. But this builds nicely on that. Thank you very much indeed for your comments. Really, really good. Thank you, the audience, for asking your questions. A few final comments from me, if I could. For those of you thinking about good people and good initiatives, do note please that the South African OSPAs are open until the 15th of February, and get some dates in your diary for award ceremonies. Benelux Thought Leadership Summit and the Benelux OSPAs Awards, 24th of November. Germany just announced, hot off the press, 15th of December, a webinar, and the German OSPAs will be presented. Stand by for Kenya. And let me tell you this you must do, trust me. Wednesday the 9th of December, 3:30 Greenwich Mean Time, Tackling Economic Crime Awards. This is an awards ceremony online with a difference. Promise you. You may not think so, but trust me, this is an awards ceremony online with a difference. Register free of charge at the Techers website. We go through this all over again on Tuesday, when our focus will be what's in a name, can we solve confusion in the language of job titles? And then on Wednesday, an extra webinar in association with the National Association of Healthcare Security on the future direction of security in healthcare, and raising security awareness, some of the issues about that on Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My thanks once again to you, the audience, for your questions. My thanks also to my panelists for their great insights. Thank you. My thanks to Hannah Miller and Christine Brooks, who in the background do a lot of work. Hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, hopefully all three. But until we see you again, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks.